I want to offer a couple lenses through which to think about this. We might fear the use of our tax dollars abroad. I want to remind us how the mass atrocities that your tax dollars facilitate are connected to the abuses of our own rights here at home. I'm going to do that wearing a lawyer hat, and then I'm going to put on my hip-hop MC hat and give it to you in a different vernacular. There is an outright torturer who the Senate will consider tomorrow to lead the Central Intelligence Agency, which is one of the world's most prolific instruments of state terrorism. The reason that Gina Haspel is available to be considered to lead the CIA and not in prison, among other reasons, is because your representative in Washington, Nancy Pelosi, when read into Bush-era torture techniques, chose to sweep it under the rug instead of sounding an alarm. That's worth a boo. 5 years ago, a whistleblower came forward to alert us using the British press, which we had to rely on given the erosion of our so-called free media here in the United States, to let us know that the internet had been co-opted as a tool for global surveillance. Nancy Pelosi voted against, or at least undermined, a proposed warrant requirement, which earlier this year would have defended your right to be free from arbitrary surveillance by not just the NSA, but the FBI and the DEA, CBP, and ICE. You have rights. We live in a constitutional republic, whatever they tell you, whatever you might see on television. And I'm here to tell you that whether it's with respect to mass atrocity abroad, whether it's with respect to torture undermining international human rights commitments that we fought a world war to establish in the first place, whether it's with respect to mass surveillance that we supposedly fought the Cold War to resist and then apparently lost to ourselves, you have an alternative. Together, we can do better. It has been entirely too long that we have been facing these struggles. In 2003, when Bush invaded Iraq, I was not far from here with 500 other kids from Stanford, and we were part of the blockade that for 36 hours and 20,000 people laid nonviolent siege to this city. And when I went to Washington, not for yourselves, a lot of you were out here then, I suspect. And I'll go back further than that. You know, the warnings of what we are encountering today were given to us by no other than less than a U.S. president. The creator of the military-industrial complex warned us 60 years ago that this would happen. In no uncertain terms, that democracy and our rights in the United States would be at risk, not just the lives of people abroad. One other reflection, and I'll get to the rhyme. I went to the West Bank in 2015. And growing up in the United States as an immigrant Muslim, I had always been led to understood, particularly by media sources, that the conflict in Palestine is a matter of religious strife between Jews and Muslims. And I was surprised to discover that that narrative bears very little resemblance to the truth. Settler colonialism is a matter of neo-colonial theft of resources, land and water in the desert. And we in the United States know that much, at least, all too well. How many of you are indigenous, Native Americans? Word up. Thank you for being here. The struggle for indigenous rights is the same across the world. There is a Mike Brown in every town. Don't try to tell me that America was found. We've been slaughtering innocents from the very beginning. This country spits a big game while spitting half-assed facts. Here's one for you. All people are supposedly created equal, right? Right? Yes. Except apparently blacks folks got declared 3/5 when whites wrote the Constitution, and ever since then even if we keep abusing. Mass confusion on our own stated principles leads to empire seeming invincible, murder with impunity when shot by a cop, while prosecutors persecute the block non-stop from Ferguson to Jerusalem. From Ferguson to Jerusalem. From Ferguson to Jerusalem. The criminals have badges. I said from Ferguson to Jerusalem to Washington. Houston, we have a problem for housing, education, not enough funds that we pay the real criminals badges and pensions. In Palestine, folks are on the front line. The massacre, the Nakba gave rise in time to all the crimes that you might now find. 750,000 refugees on the run. Exodus. Chased by guns, peoples of the book, allegiance is undone after 1,000 years. A solidarity, son, brothers killing each other. What's the function? Supporting leaders with no compunction, destroying everywhere, every town, every junction, careerists, institutional corruption from Tel Aviv all the way back to Langley. For a millennium, Jews and Muslims were one family. Across the globe, authorities claim security, but peace need not be a fantasy for anybody. From Ferguson to Jerusalem. from Ferguson to Jerusalem. From Ferguson to Jerusalem, the criminals have badges. I said from Ferguson to Jerusalem. To Washington, Houston, we have a problem for housing, education, not enough funds because we paid the real criminals badges and pensions. U.S. weapons in the hands of Israelis infect a whole region with imperial rabies, diseases, driving regimes crazy, serving a hegemon by literally killing babies, not just abroad, but across the U.S. Weapons used in Palestine by the IDF end up all over the world. Where else? To your right and to your left, all over U.S. streets, just like the CIA, an enemy of peace, undermining human rights from the west to east, a beast like all intelligence agencies, beasts of death. Medical emergencies, I'm here to help you feel a little urgency, to connect seemingly separate dots internationally, help you see that we, all humanity, shares the same interest in restraining police. We are a family, like all others. Cain and Abel murdering our own brothers. Police act with impunity. Their brothers abused while claiming to protect and serve others. Paramilitary bosses serving corporate masters. Communities abuse faster, innocent people gunned down every day. Live your life, do what you need to do, connect with your family, have fun now, but don't turn away. Tomorrow, today offers crucial opportunities to defend any of the many communities targeted by authorities around the planet. Revolution needs to happen. Help plan it from Ferguson to Jerusalem. From Ferguson to Jerusalem. From Ferguson to Jerusalem. The criminals have badges. I said from Ferguson to Jerusalem. To Washington, Houston, we have a problem for housing, education, not enough funds because we paid the real criminals badges and pensions. You have an alternative on June 5th. I'm running in a race against Nancy Pelosi to represent you in Washington. Thank you for being here today. I am proud to be with you. I will be with you tomorrow. If you want to get more information about my campaign, please come see me and my colleague Susan here. Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!